gon' take it there? Who gon' take it there? Who gon' take it there? Who gon' take it there? Electricity, 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 electricity. You know what's in the air. 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 It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility.
All right, so Talarico and Jasmine Crockett had their debate in Texas. This is for the Texas primary for a Senate seat, and they discussed ICE, touched a little bit on the murder of Alex Preddy. If you don't know, ICE killed another person in Minneapolis yesterday on Saturday, the day after the historic one-day general strike that was held in Minneapolis. ICE killed another person, and in this case as well, they seem to have did it deliberately, maliciously, and the video is rough to watch. And so, you know, increasingly that's the center of the American political conversation, which I think is great because there's so many things going on with Trump at all times. It's easy to forget that that is the center of his policy and also the center of the violence of his policy, especially domestically. So while these two had a perfectly fine debate, I think that all Democrats on the stage are going to find that this conversation is rapidly evolving, and who knows how long the conversation is going to be on ICE, but certainly it's activating people in a way that is going to stir unrest probably for a long time. We're approaching levels of outrage that look pretty similar to 2020, and so we'll see what that looks like when the week starts. But for now, here is some clips of Talarico and Jasmine Crockett going at it.
Moving on, we're going to stick with you, Ms. Crockett. We have a follow-up question when it comes to electability. What's the political risk that you are willing to take that you feel like your opponent would not take in order to win the U.S. Senate seat?
I think that I will do the edgy things, the things that the political consultants will never tell you to do. Because right now, people are hurting. This isn't about games. It's not about politics as usual. It's not about who sounds as clean as possible. It is about tapping into the rawness of this moment. I have been to Minneapolis and heard the stories of the people on the ground as they are being accosted. And obviously, we've got killings that are going on. And now we have the DOJ that has decided that they want to prosecute the wife of Renee Good. I have been there in California after David Huerta of SEIU had been incarcerated by ICE, and I listened to his story and met with him because we went there. I have been to Chicago. I am here to tell you that I am not just sitting in DC, I am getting out into the streets. And right now, to be perfectly honest, if we're gonna win and keep our country, we're gonna need somebody who can file bills, but also knows how to be a street fighter. And so that is my response.
Mr. Talarico, same question, 30 seconds. What's the political risk that you are willing to take that you feel your opponent would not?
Here's the risk I'm willing to take. Congresswoman Crockett and I are on the same team. I think we've already seen in this debate that there's going to be a temptation by the media to pit us against each other. But we are all focused on the same goal, which is winning in November and stopping a Senator Ken Paxton. And so I think in this debate, you're going to see that Congresswoman Crockett and I agree on a whole lot more than we disagree on. And that unity is a threat to the billionaires who want to pit us all against each other and who right now are running this country, running this economy. And we need someone who has stood up to those billionaires in our nation's capital.
I do want to ask you, though, would you support abolishing or defunding ICE?
We absolutely have to clean house. Whatever that looks like, I am willing to do it. Because if there are truly Proud Boys that are currently in ICE, that's a problem.
All right. Just to be clear, though, would you, in 10 seconds, abolish or defund ICE?
We have seen this historic increase in funding for ICE. That money has come out of our healthcare. So what I would say is that we should take that money back and put it in our communities where it belongs.
Let's talk about campaign finance. Mr. Talarico, you have criticized the political influence of billionaire mega donors. Records show you accepted money from Texas Sands PAC, which lobbies for expanded casino gambling and is backed by billionaire Miriam Adelson. Can you explain the exception that was made there? You have 60 seconds.
Yeah, I've never taken a contribution from Miriam Adelson, never met her, don't know her, don't plan to meet her. But I do support legalized gambling in Texas. I think it's good public policy. I think it'll bring good jobs. I think it'll bring desperately needed tax revenue into our Texas public schools. We rank 43rd in the nation in per student education funding. And I think we're losing business to Louisiana and Oklahoma. That business can be brought back here to Texas to help fund our Texas public schools.
All right. Ms. Crockett, campaign finance records show you have accepted donations from PACs and companies like Lockheed Martin, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and JP Morgan. In 60 seconds, how do you keep corporate donations from influencing your vote?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you brought up the corporate PAC money on the state level. Unfortunately, on the state level, there are no limits. On the federal level, there are limits. And I know that you specifically pointed to Miriam Adelson because she's the person who allegedly is tied into this PAC. And I just want to say that, number one, we have actual limits. So our limits have been $5,000. Number two, that money has not come from an individual, especially someone who is believing that Trump should have a third term. Instead, this money has come from the employees. Number four, you didn't bring it up, but Goldman Sachs, which is located in my district, a number of these companies have an actual blueprint in Texas 30, and their workers wanted to make sure, because they are taking $5, $10 out of their checks, that they had access. But I do want to be clear. I want to win. And so at the end of the day, what I've done with that money is I've donated almost $600,000 just in my freshman term to make sure that down ballot candidates could win throughout this entire country. And I'm committed to making sure that no vote that I ever take has anything to do with somebody giving me a check.
Mr. Talarico, do you want to respond? Miriam Adelson is a billionaire. She does run the Sands PAC. You want to respond to what Ms. Crockett just said?
Like I said, I don't know Mary Adelson. It sounds like she and I disagree on almost every issue, but we do agree on legalizing gambling in Texas. And as I've outlined before, why that is good public policy. And so again, I think what we need to do is ban corporate PACs in this country. I think we need to ban super PACs, which is how billionaires fund our campaigns with secret, unlimited donations. And we got to go further, and we've got to ban members of Congress from trading stocks and enriching themselves while they're in public office.
So I think you can pretty clearly see the distinctions between the two of them as candidates here. Very important aspects of both of them are being highlighted in this debate. Neither of them wanted to really say abolish ICE or anything clear about that. They both had kind of ways of working around saying that, essentially saying that. Jasmine Crockett said clean house. Talarico said take some of the extra money that has been given to ICE and put that elsewhere. So this is what we're going to see from a lot of Democrats, because they're going to be under a lot of pressure to heed these calls to say this is the Gestapo. These people are running around shooting people in the streets, killing them. Obviously, this is just gangs employed by the Trump administration to kill people. And probably the most important data point about these last two killings is that these are longtime ICE agents that carried out these murders. These are not new guys who were just grabbed up off the street. These are people who have been in the agency for a long time. So that's probably the best argument. Tom Homan was in the agency under Barack Obama, climbing the ranks and receiving medals from Barack Obama himself. So that being said, the reason Democrats are going to be running away from this is because they know that there's a certain amount of voters out there, especially in a place like Texas, that do not overall perceive ICE to be the Gestapo yet. Maybe that will change. I suppose that's on us to change that. And there is a tidal wave coming, especially if more of these videos keep coming out, of people's opinion on ICE changing. The swing is already happening. However, Democrats don't want this label of abolish ICE or defund ICE even to be stuck to them, because as we've seen, they've been running away from that ever since 2020. Now, I personally think that Democrats should embrace some of these more extreme labels that get put on them. Socialist, transgender for everybody, abolish ICE. I mean, ultimately, these are things that they could flip into positives if they stood on it and ran on it the right way. And especially if they're going to say that you're the abolish the police, abolish ICE candidate anyway, and you can make a solid case for that, especially in the case of ICE, then I think they should do it, and they probably would be more popular, because Democrats are stuck in this idea of the sort of like older median voter, the people that you do need to bring out on the basis that you're not going to abolish the police or destabilize society or whatever. But I think that what Democrats missed this last time around that Republicans didn't is that every 4 years or even every 2 years, you have a whole new crop of voters that are entering the voting population for the first time. And this is the boat that Democrats missed when it came to Israel and Gaza, is they didn't realize the power of the videos that people were seeing of what was happening in Gaza and how strong of a motivator that was in terms of voting behavior. And so not only did they fail to bring those people out, but they depressed a fair amount of younger voters that definitely could have come out to vote, would have been happy to come out and vote for somebody that was promising to take meaningful action about Israel. And Kamala Harris just refused to do that. So this ICE issue is another version of that. And you're getting two different versions of them kind of demurring on the issue. And I think it's a mistake. And it's fine to come to the table with some kind of alternative, a new idea about how immigration enforcement can be done. I mean, get to work, figure out what the policy would be and present that, rather than running away from this idea of they want to abolish ICE because you don't have a better answer. It's clear to all of us that ICE needs to be abolished. And it's also clear that if you're going to make that case to voters, you're going to have something to say for it. It's not enough to just say abolish ICE. That's going to get you killed on the Republican side of this debate. There's no question about it. So there's no reason that Democrats can't come up with a better answer for this problem, and now's the time to do it. So I'll get back to that in a minute at the end here. I think the other main difference between Talarico and Crockett is made clear here, which is that Crockett, I think, is more talented in terms of her communication style. She has a more unique and memorable communication style that does work, and I don't think it should be underestimated. Talarico, I think, is also talented. He came off a little wooden here, a little boring, but he has the ability to tie in like Christian ideology and Jesus talk, basically, into a more leftist message. So I think that's pretty valuable. I think it's refreshing. I think it's needed. I honestly think both of these candidates provide a style of rhetoric that is refreshing in its own way. The debate about them is, since Texas is going to be hard for any Democrat to win, is the white boy who's preaching Jesus, does he have a better chance to win over a seat like that than Jasmine Crockett, who is known for being brash and, saying foul names and essentially is going to be attacked on a racist basis by the GOP competition? It's just, that's what's going to happen. And so you see some people who are saying, we shouldn't take that risk, which then plays into accusations that they're being racist and that the only reason they think Crockett couldn't win is because she is black. I want to say that I don't think that's true. I think that she definitely could win. I don't really know the specifics of the data of this seat, which is what some people point to in saying that she's not the right candidate. She says that she's leading in all the right demographics there, that she could win. I think she's a powerful candidate. I don't know that I would put Talarico at higher chance of winning than her, but it certainly would be a different approach to it. And the thing is, though, that if Jasmine Crockett's going to win, she would be appealing to different people, pulling out a different portion of the base, people that haven't been excited about politics but need to become excited about politics. So the problem with Jasmine Crockett is that when it comes to her policy positions, she is not as locked in to the policy positions that are going to excite that base. And a lot of people's concern with her is that she replaces substantive politics with this fighter attitude and aspect, whereas Talarico's a little bit more dialed in on the policy, and he's also able to say things like, I'm not taking PAC money. I'm not taking corporate money. I mean, that's powerful. That is what the base wants to hear. And it plays way better than, I'm a fighter and Trump's a fascist, which is true. In Texas, I don't think that rhetoric works that well. And no matter where you are in the country, even New York City, you have to forge an economic message that is powerful and also addresses the root causes of some of these things that Trump is using to demagogue. So being able to separate yourself from the corporate entities at play is crucial to being able to actually be a fighter. Being good on TV and good rhetorically against Donald Trump is not going to cut it. I remember thinking in 2020 that I didn't like Kamala Harris that much as a candidate, but I wanted to see her debate Trump because she was a prosecutor and she was sharp and she was good in those debates. And then in 2024, we saw that debate and it didn't win her the election. I think she did good in the debate, and I'm not really directly comparing them because they have very different personalities. But my point being that I think there's a limit to that whole fighter mentality, because we did get that from Kamala Harris, even though she had other aspects to her campaign as well. That wasn't really enough in terms of a personality for her to cut through the Trump bullshit. And what's necessary for that is for you to be able to undermine some of the corporate forces that allow Trump to be propped up and keep going no matter what anyone says. It's those corporate entities backing Trump, bankrolling Trump, and the Democratic Party, by the way, that has allowed for the situation to get so dire in America. And that's why basic Democratic Party politics is not enough to solve this problem. It has to be somebody who's operating outside of that. And so Talarico, I don't know if he quite fits the bill for that either, because he has taken money and had some political affiliations with Adelson. He says he doesn't know her, has no interest in her, and has no interest in taking that corporate money. So to me, that's just a step better. I don't know that I quite trust either of them on it, but it's definitely a problem that Jasmine Crockett is not able to say, I'm not going to take corporate PAC money and I'm not going to take crypto money, which she has done. And, you know, the idea that that doesn't compromise her voting behavior is just bunk. We know that it does. That's one of the major problems that we have to solve in America. So that's the biggest point against Crockett for me. So back to what's going on in Minneapolis. This was actually a Border Patrol agent that shot Alex Preddy. I don't know if I said it was ICE earlier. So this was a very unprovoked attack. Essentially, he was approaching while filming because they were attacking some woman. Preddy was asking if she was okay. He approached with his hands up. They started pepper spraying him, throwing him around, threw him on the ground, disarmed him. He had a gun on him, but it was holstered. He never took it out from what we can see. And they disarmed him. You can clearly see him being disarmed. And then now what video is showing is that it seems like the officer that disarmed him and took his gun away fired the gun, and that was the first shot. And after that is when I think one of them basically emptied a clip into him and killed him, counting the bullet holes afterwards as he was dying. These people are sick and they're purposely trying to incite this violence. And so I know that there's tension right now between the idea of, do you remain peaceful? Do you fight fire with fire? I think people need to arm themselves, no question. I mean, not only do you have this type of police violence happening, but these people are clearly aggressors. They're clearly relishing this, and they clearly feel like their assignment is to go and put their boot on the necks of Minneapolis with impunity. And they will do that to all of us. This is a testing ground. They're doing it in Minneapolis because it's a heavily populated area that's also somewhat controlled and contained. And, you know, places like LA, even Chicago, a little bigger than that, where they can't do this much of a show of power. But as they're building up their power, they are also trying to incite as much violence as they possibly can. But the reality is, just because they have some plan to do military action or martial law or something like that, doesn't mean that they wouldn't rather people roll over and take it and not challenge them. At the end of the day, them being faced with resistance is the only thing that's going to make what they're doing harder, because Democrats are not getting in the way. Democrats have no interest in getting in the way. They won't even say abolish ICE. So what that means is that it's up to the people and the labor movement, but also entwined with things that aren't connected to unions, to essentially unite around a message and be willing to disrupt business as usual in any way possible. So we're going to see what that looks like this week, because work stoppages and actual interruptions to the work week are the main thing that determines whether these unrests get seriously crazy or if it kind of just peters out. If people all end up going back to work, then the momentum slows. Doesn't mean it's over, but the momentum slows. So we'll see what happens, but it is up to the people to start demanding things like abolish ICE and like a general strike. Because if we're going to start calling for a general strike, we got to figure out what the terms of that are. Is it abolish ICE, get rid of ICE permanently under a Trump administration? I've posed the possibility before that a demand could be for Trump and Vance to both be impeached and removed, which would then make Mike Johnson the president. And even though that's not preferable, he's also a weakling. So essentially, if the strike action continues throughout him being president, that could allow for additional terms of essentially unraveling the government that Trump has built to take place. So, I mean, if we're talking about something real and sweeping, that's one way to go. And I'm open to other ideas.
Me too close to, too much to do. The mission is too crucial. Shout it out from the rooftops until I lose vocals. Who gon' take it there? 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 Electricity, 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 electricity.